Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Legion Season 2, Episode 7. It is Chapter 15. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, did you understand any of that?
It was very Twin Peaksy, this one.
It was very... I mean, to be fair, I think on the whole, the last few have been kind of...
Yeah, but do you know what it is on this one? Specifically, it's the staticky jumping effect.
You've got that whenever Future Sid's involved in a scene, because they're doing their weird mental time travel.
It hasn't been like that before, though, has it? I don't remember it being quite to this extent.
Oh, to this extent, no, but it was definitely there, because we talked about it the first time
it was, but like, I don't remember it being anywhere near this bad.
It was a bit more consistent, I guess,
yeah,
this
like,
time.
even the distortion on the voice seemed a lot heavier this time.
Yeah, lots of things going on. You also had like a random old woman knitting in a couple of scenes at the end, and then there was a scene where Basket Man went into bed. She was there, and it even cut from her to present day Sid sitting in his chair as if she was in a trance. And I'm not actually sure.
Well,
if
that was the bit where Sid was watching things. You know, we go to her on. She goes to the stool and she kind of puts down over her head as if she's putting the basket on.
Yeah, but it's not actually on her head,
no, it's not. But she seems to be watching these things because it kind of cuts in as if she's seeing it happen.
Yes. Explain how.
I haven't got that one for you.
Right. Okay. So. So there was the chicken, the black goo chicken monster. We got a giant sized version of that. That was fun.
yeah, they really went all out with this. Because we start with the infomercial.
We start with the infomercial. Moral Panic. This was the one where I felt like, as I was watching, I couldn't help but think of a lot of timely things. I felt like this one was the most political charged of any of them so far, because it was all about spreading fear over like a type of person. It was about how the idea of everyone like, oh, because it eventually gets to the Salem witch trials, and it's like, oh hey, like, so even though there was no threat seen, we all think there is a threat, so we act on it anyway, and it becomes this irrational. We have to stop the danger, even when there's not really any danger there.
A logical concern, or it becomes irrational panic.
Yes. And it starts off as just, oh, that boy's reading the horror comics, which were clearly knockoff versions of Tales from the Crypt and the Horror Vault. That was the other one. Vault of Horror. Vault of Horror. That's
just with the Shadow King all over them instead.
With the Shadow King, and it was called something else though. It was like there was the same font as those comics, but it was like,
right.
I don't know, horror comics or something. I don't know, whatever they were calling them to pass them off as. But yeah, so it starts with that, and then it gets to the point where they're hanging witches.
Yeah, and the idea is that the people who are frightened can be a bigger threat than what they perceive the threat to be.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
Truer words. Like I say, this felt very... not even just timely to now, it feels just very applicable to almost how any awful group of people got into power at any point in history. They made everyone fear this boogeyman.
I think that's the idea. It's human nature. That's the to all of these things that they've said. They're not, oh, this is only appropriate now. It's, like this is going, oh, hey, look, witch trials. That's the example it uses.
Oh, sure,
This is throughout history. It uses all these things of people seeking patterns to convince themselves that something is wrong.
Yes. So just pay attention and don't do that. Basically, is the advice I would give. Think about things.
Sure.
Analyze them. Weigh them up. Give them some thought.
Very sensible of you.
Thank you. So we also got like a recap of them as well, because for the first time John Hamm came back in at the end and kind of like, as they were all sitting in the cafeteria, he kind of, okay, so what have we learned so far? And he went through all the 5 of them that we've had so far, because there's been 2 episodes without them, I think. So it's like, here's the first thing we learned this, and we learned the spread of a delusion. We learned that, and it ends with the current one, the moral panic. Because this one, it actually kind of felt like a lot of them happen quite literally, where Pitomy's like we've seen it's already in his head, and then he's the one who lays all the eggs around while they're all sleeping. And
yeah, see, it was really weird, because at first I thought this was just like metaphorical,
Oh no,
And then it's like,
literal.
no, there's actual eggs.
Yeah, because when David comes back from his chamber, he starts stepping in eggshells all over the place.
That's when I realized, oh no, there are literal eggs. Because
Yeah.
you get the scenes of him creeping around, placing them, but I thought that was just representative.
But the idea that he plants in everyone's heads, or whatever's inside him plants this idea in everyone's heads, is that Basket Man, Futayama, is eating people. So they all kind of band together as if, or he's some evil villain who eats people. Let's go take him down. You know, Clark and Kerry are working together. Sid's not really involved. She's away in her trance, going to use the Basket Man's invisible basket. This show's so weird.
Yeah. We actually get some shots from inside the basket. Like seeing what he sees, and it is because they mention how, oh, he watches everything. He sees everything.
Yeah. Like I said though, that's before when he's actually wearing a physical basket. So
yeah,
admittedly, it's a very high-tech basket, but there's a physical thing on his head that I'm saying, okay, so this is where the images are.
But even that was interesting to me because I don't think we've seen inside the basket.
Oh, no, I think we have.
Have we?
Yeah, that POV shot of the camera switching. We've seen that before.
I don't think I ever realised that was the inside of the basket.
Oh, really? No, we've seen that
Yeah.
before. At least once, maybe twice, just as he's been watching things. And
Fair. I think I always just thought, oh, he's got a screen somewhere. I didn't realise it was the inside of the basket.
So they're all going, and there's a great action sequence. In fact, there's a great little horror sequence of Clark before he gets his coup going, where he's walking down the hallway and he keeps turning around, and the Vermilion are following him. And every time he turns around, they're closer, but they're also in a different pose.
You know what this really reminded me of is the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of Ninja Cat, but yeah, that's also a fair comparison.
Did you know it was in my mind, and then you actually have the point where he blinks, and because he turns, he just stares at them, and he blinks, and then suddenly they're right there.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think Doctor Who was the first one to come up with that concept.
I don't think it was either. I'm just it was the one that came to mind.
Yeah, so they have this great action scene where he's just, it's actually that's Petamy who's got the machine gun and he's firing off bullets into the Vermilion. Because at first there's three of them and they're like, oh, there's a 68% chance of us winning. And Kerry's like, ah, oh, cocky bitch. And then like just more and more Vermilion
And
come out.
she's going around with a hatchet.
Yeah, she's not got a gun, she's got a hatchet. And she's jumping off the wall and hatcheting
Way
Vermilion in the
cooler.
face. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And then eventually they get to the chambers. Where Basket Man is, they make him take off his basket for a start, and we see that he's all scarred. And we already saw in the scene that he was getting put to bed that he had like a sort of brace. He has like a head brace.
We saw it from behind, and we didn't really get a proper look at him though.
Yeah, we see that his face all scarred, and of course, just when they're about to kill him, that's when David, who's kind of like came out and realised, okay, something's going on, something fishy's happening, and he appears in front of them, and then turns Pitamy's gun into a mop, or it's Clark's gun.
Yeah, it's Clark.
Yeah, I'm swapping. They were the two with guns.
Autonomy comes in after because he's the one who he gets grabbed separately.
Yeah, I'm mixing them both up because they're the ones with the guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, he turns his gun into a mop, and then he's like, "What's going on here?" And then he actually sort of looks inside their head, with these powers, and kind of he pulls out the little.
It lights up, and you can just see the little shadow thing in there.
Yeah, they pass out, but he does get the little thing out of them, so he actually like wins and like stomps on them, and then a giant version comes out of Petamy, and he chases it down. We get a giant bug, chicken goo thing running around in the halls. It looked quite good as well, by the way. I'll say that.
Yeah.
The lighting helped. They were intentionally making this a very sort of dark, flickering lighting kind of mood scene, but it worked. But then eventually it was like kind of in the head. He was like fighting with it, and he made it small. He actually like basically tried to talk it down and say, "I'll let you go." Just
It's like, look, did you have to do this now? I'm busy.
Yeah, and then he stops
It's
on
a bad time.
Actually, he doesn't stop on it. He puts it in a jar.
He puts it in the jar and just explodes it.
He stomps in the other ones.
Yeah, he stomps in the other ones because I had a moment of like concern where he puts it in the jar, and I thought, oh, was he just going to leave it in the jar? I was like, oh, this is bad. It could escape later.
He does the same thing that he did in the alternate timeline in his head last episode to the cop, where he makes it sort of contract and like implode and then splat. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. It was good to see. So that's what I feel like we're talking about. So this is the big action plot for the second half of the episode. There's a lot of other stuff we've kind of bypassed to talk about.
We open with we have the infomercial, but then we have a whole thing with Farouk for about 10-15 minutes.
What I thought was interesting is Farouk's kind of in the infomercial. He's still in the white space.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting as well because he pops up in his car, and the narration is gone at this point, but we're still clearly in that setting, that world.
Yeah, and I felt like that was its way of saying that all of the evil steeds from all these infomercials, he's all of them. He's like, he's at the center of doing all these things. He's manipulating everyone. He's spreading delusions. He's doing all this stuff. But he's like, obviously, what we're seeing is not actually what's happening, but it's like a representation of what's going on in his head. And we see like he's like pumping he's got like a souped up engine in the back of his car, and he's pumping stuff to that from the front of the car, which is a pool of purple goo.
Yeah.
Again, this show is freaking weird. Have we made that clear?
Do you know the worst part is, when I'm watching it, I'm not even questioning it anymore. I'm just going, yeah, okay. It's only when we sit here and try and break it down.
I try and say it, yeah. We just describe it and you realise, wait, this is batshit insane. What's happening? But basically, what it turns out he's doing, he's souping up his mental power so that he, like David's been doing, jumps to the future in his mind to talk to future Sid, because he wants to know why David was told to help him. He wants to know that himself. So he pops into the future and he has this scene with future Sid, which kind of dispels a few of the ideas we had earlier on when we were trying to like figure out, is this just the Shadow King in the future manipulating him? It's not.
No, it seems to actually be Sid.
And she kind of puts up a fight against him. And what was actually kind of funny is this kind of confirmed a lot of the things we kind of jumped to fairly early on. We were like, oh no, it's David who destroys the world. They need the Shadow King to stop him.
We did speculate that it might be the Shadow King in his body, though, which it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. I wonder if it still is, but Sid just doesn't know that.
It's possible, yeah. It doesn't seem to be, based on the information here. But
based on here, but I think it's still possible if they want to go down that route. Yeah. Because it makes me wonder what Shadow King's plans are if it's not to. Well, I don't know if he necessarily wants to destroy the world, but
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. I don't think he wants to rule the world. Sure, he wants the power, but he doesn't seem to want to destroy everything.
Well, here's the thing: where did the blue chicken thing come from then? If it wasn't Shadow King,
that's the thing I was going to get to after we'd come round through this, because part of me thinks, okay, so it could be because the blue, the delusion wasn't to destroy the world. The delusion was to take out Fukuyama.
Yeah.
And it seems like a personal rivalry rather than. So yeah, it's very targeted rather than take out everything.
It could be, it could just be from the Shadow King. It does make me wonder though if there's a third party involved in this.
That's the thing. It feels too easy to be the Shadow King hasn't seemed to have had that much stake in.
Is this like, how we've been talking a lot all season about how the infomercials are kind of like training us to kind of second guess what we're thinking and what we're seeing and how things are adding together. And I wonder if like that's kind of the delusions. You know how we look for patterns and things that make sense. So we're jumping to the Shadow King because that's what makes sense. But really, it's all a distraction to the fact that there's a third party trying to do something.
Right, because this is the thing with the Shadow King. Like, yeah, okay, it plays. It's the sort of thing I can see him doing, but we've never really set up him having any sort of rivalry with Fukuyama, right? He's been very personal with David.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It doesn't seem to line up. David doesn't jump to it. When the thing pops up, he's like, "Look, do you have to do this now?" I'm dealing with other shit.
Yeah,
he's not going Shadow King. Piss off.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the scene with Sid. Really good scene. I genuinely enjoyed him kind of realizing everything and realizing, oh wait, it's David. Oh, so I'm going to be the hero in this story. Oh, for centuries you've been calling me the villain, but turns out I'm the one. And I noticed how purple this scene was, which I guess ties into the purple goo he was using in terms of representation.
Yeah, it was like a neon doorway.
The reason why I'm pointing this out, though, is that when David comes here later, it's not purple, it's a light blue.
Yeah.
And that stuck out to me.
No, that's true. On the, him saying he's the hero, I kind of wonder if it's almost like, okay, no, there needs to be a villain of some sort to keep the people on track. They have to have something to fight against.
Maybe. Just to go back to the colours, I'm just thinking about it. Blue and purple, neither one of those are red or green. And I wonder if the point there is that this is neither good or evil, this is neutral.
No, it could be. The only real red I really noticed in this episode, distinctly anyway,
Hmm.
was when he goes and fights the big giant monster, and it goes into the head. That's a big red room that it's in,
Yeah.
which very red there.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I. Yeah. So you have that scene with Sid, future Sid, with the Shadow King. Very good. Very well acted. We've been saying that he's had great presence since the start, and this was another example of it. And this was great because we got to see him interact with someone other than David. Because typically up until now it's been David or maybe Oliver
And Lenny.
and Lenny, yeah. Whereas now we have him with Sid, so that's kind of an interesting thing to see. And so speaking of Sid, we'll stick with Sid right now. Go to present day Sid. I thought it was interesting that when she's talking to David, like they're in bed, and so, first of all she tries to like, hey, do you want to talk about your sister? And he's like, no. And she says, well, maybe you should talk to her, future me. And he's like, wouldn't that make you like weirdly jealous or something, or what? He's like, no, why would I be jealous? Have you been physical with her? It's like, well, no, but and I thought that was interesting that he, by suggesting that she might get jealous, she then had the seed of doubt that something was there to be jealous about, and then accused him of actually doing something. And I thought that was interesting, just in terms of the themes of all the infomercials we've been having.
Yeah, it's another little delusion, the planting the seed and then how it grows and spreads.
And we know that it hasn't. We know that there's been nothing.
Yeah.
But I kind of got why he said that, though. Would you not feel kind of weird that because obviously the thing here is that she feels like he doesn't want to confide in her, and that's making her feel like he doesn't trust her, he doesn't, want to communicate with her, doesn't want to confide in her. But if he went and did that with the future version of herself, would that not make her feel oddly jealous or oddly?
Yeah, but to her, at first at least it's like, well, it's still me that you're talking to.
But why is it more comfortable to talk to her, that version of you, than this version of you?
Yeah, it's the distance, isn't it? It's that you can put a little bit of space, and it's almost not real because that version may never come to pass.
Yeah, Sid's got quite a few interesting scenes because she has this, and then she has the scene where she goes to talk to Lenny, and she basically goes to talk to Lenny to kind of like convince herself that, hey, you're just here to distract us, but you're still working for him. You're not really his sister. You're not really Lenny. And Lenny's response is like, oh, sure, whatever. And just goes back to being crazy, is basically the response of her. Which makes me think she is actually Lenny and she is actually David's sister's body. And Sid was just trying to convince herself that, oh no, you're not any of these things.
I think the reason I believe that is because that's probably the biggest distraction, is if it's real.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah.
It has more weight. If it turns out it's not real, they can just dismiss it and go, all right, well, we don't need to worry about that anymore. Whereas if it is real, that's just going to gnaw under his skin a bit more.
No, absolutely. I guess we should jump back. Not that I've finished the Sid stuff yet, but we should jump back to the scene where David seeks out Shadow King to dispute him over what he's done to his sister. And we have this scene. They're in a fancy home, roaring fireplace. They're eating. Shadow King's enjoying some nice quality meat. And when David brings up his grievance with this, to say the least, to the point where he's actually grilling at him at one point. He's got like a sort of dog grill that he's kind of coming for him.
It's more of a lion sound, I think.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
It sounds more like a lion to me.
Point is, he's ready to bite. Is I think the gist of the scene.
It is, yeah.
And Shadow King's just like, what? Your sister? She was just. She held you back. She turned you into a nut house. Like, why would you care about her? You should be thanking me. Of course, looking past all the humanity and all the reasons, because this is the thing. After last week's episodes, especially, and seeing like how she is key to his humanity and how she did make the right calls, because he saw all the other possibilities where she could have made different decisions. He knows that's not true, but Shadow King basically takes his reaction in response to this. Oh, I thought you were ready to play with me. I thought you were ready to go toe to toe and sit at the big boys table, but not back to the kiddies with you. And then of course he snap of the fingers and he's sitting with a couple of kids and he's got shorts on.
Yeah, I did like a lot of this conversation where, Shadow King's like, hey, I was in your mind. I know what you thought. I know how you really feel. And he was like, no, they were just thoughts. I was angry. People have thoughts. You can't control that. But the point was, he didn't mean it. He didn't act on it.
Yeah. And of course, after he leaves, Amy kind of appears, and it does raise the question: Did Shadow King take her consciousness?
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't know if he did, or if this is just him putting a little, just a little something there, just to mess with
Oh
him.
yeah, I mean, honestly, this right here when she's just sitting there still until she screams, I feel like yeah, this is just a thing that's sitting there. This is just like a representation, but it is entirely possible that he took her consciousness because
It
he's
is,
done it
yeah.
before. He done it with Lenny. He can take people's minds and take them with him.
Yeah, well, and we've seen it all season with Oliver as well.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got his body as well, to be fair, but
He does,
yeah.
but his mind is very separate to his body at this point.
So yeah, so there's a chance they could get her back. Maybe that if they want to go down an arc with Lenny where she makes this heroic sacrifice at the end, it could be, oh, I'll give your sister her body back if they get her consciousness back. If they're going to go down the happy ending route, which they might.
They might. I wouldn't put money on it though.
It's not always doom and gloom in this show,
No, just mostly.
just mostly. But I mean, there's possibilities there. So then we had another future Sid scene. David goes to see her in
Yes.
the sensory deprivation tank, if I say that properly, and he talks to her again. It's blue instead of purple. The lighting still very neon, still very sort of like the rims of the doorways
Yeah,
and all
it's
that.
very
but-
glowy, and it's almost like there's a smoke machine out there just pumping it through.
Yeah, but obviously he's like, look, why are you asking me to help him? I can't help him. Like, did you know about my sister? You know, did you know what's going to happen to my sister? And he basically like just says to her like they can't do this anymore. Like he has to like make his own calls and make his own decisions. And of course they do actually get physical for the first time because she tries to move in. He backs away and says, "No, I promised." But then when he's going to leave for the first time, she's like, "Oh, can we say goodbye at least?" So they actually have a proper kiss.
Yeah, it was around here I noticed she has very different gloves. I mean, I'm sure she's been wearing them the whole time.
Oh, she has. She's got like these little finger gloves.
Yeah, instead of the whole thing, it's just the tips of her fingers that are covered, and I thought that was interesting.
Well, that was one of the reasons people suspected it was the Shadow King because when he was in demon form, he had like the dark fingertips.
Yeah,
Whereas here it just feels like it's a streamlined version of I don't want to touch things, so I just need the fingertips.
it is. Yeah,
But it's fine, that's fair. But yeah, so all these scenes played really well, and like you say, there's a really David Lynch-esque vibe to a lot of them. These ones in the future where it's like stuttering around, and it's like, you know, future Sid, you could mention that conversation the Shadow King had with you when he's popped up. There's things you could be telling him, but you clearly believe that for whatever reason that David has to be stopped, or you know that things have to play out, you know, against whatever way they played out for you. Because
she does acknowledge that maybe she's done enough already. Maybe she's done enough that the timeline's changed.
yeah, possibly, yeah. But I really enjoyed in the Shadow King scene with her how she's like, "Hey, you die in this timeline. David kills you." I'm like, "Yeah, rub that in. Go for it."
Yeah, that's it. As much as she's trying to save him, she's still pretty vicious and doesn't like him. It's not like
Oh, yeah.
I want you around. It's I need you to
Oh, yeah,
you know, stop the rest of this shit.
It is absolutely an uneasy alliance. Like she is not happy when she's sitting there dealing with him. What I did think was interesting though is that chair in the middle is very reminiscent of the chair that Basketman's got in the middle of the room. You know, just a single chair in the middle. Like it makes me
No, you're
wonder
right.
if how she's doing this in the future, sending stuff back, is it something to do with getting used to his tech? Because obviously she sits in his chair and gets, you know, zones out, and whether or not she is seeing or not seeing stuff as if she's got the basket on, even though she doesn't have a basket on, I can't even begin to explain that. But she is zoning out, and she's definitely becoming accustomed to it. She even says, "What is happening to me?" as if there is some sort of process or some change happening.
No, it's true. It's almost like this is the first step to becoming that version.
Yes, that's the best that I can do, really. So, Epitome's on the floor, half ripped open. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Like, I assumed he was okay. I assumed that because the other ones came out of their heads and they just kind of like popped out
Yeah, I thought it might have done the same
with his
but
back. But the Vermilion say, "Oh no, we can fix him, but we're going to have to take him." And they take him into the little forest that they've got in the back of the room. I'll explain this in a second.
Yeah, I just find that they don't say they can fix him. They say no, we can save his mind.
Oh, that's true. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Very right. But they take him in, and I'm like, you know what? Is this a forest behind them? What's going on? Like, they just walked into a forest in the
Yeah,
back of the
I
room.
was like, they said, oh, we'll put him in the mainframe, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. It turns out this is just a hologram or a simulation, and it's actually, you know, that's what it looks like, but it's actually computer servers and.
I loved how the lighting, whenever you got the right look, you'd see just the ones and zeros through the forest.
Yeah, you'd see that. Of course, as it went on, eventually you started to see cables and wires and various things, and then eventually you saw like the actual sort of what the room looks like. And the episode ends with him waking up inside here, so he's inside the digital world. So let's just, can I just look, do a bit of a summary here for this show?
You could try.
We have the astral plane. We have future mind, right?
Yeah.
We have we have digital world that someone's inside of. We have actual heads that people are inside of.
Yeah, the
Inside the Shadow
infomercial
King.
realm.
The what realm?
The infomercial realm.
The info. Oh yeah, I was
Because
going
that's separate as well, which I wouldn't have counted except we saw the Shadow King in it today.
True. I don't know if that was saying that he was in that in that sense, or if it was just thematically linking him to everything we've been
It might
learning in
well have
those.
been, but it murked it up because that was the setup for him traveling to see future Sid. It linked it in a murky way.
I'm not ready to believe that was a literal he's in that realm. I saw it more as a thematic link, but
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm just, the fact that it linked rather than just thematically, it was literally this was what he is doing plot wise.
sure, yeah. So I just want to know how crazy that is before we even get to all the weird stuff. Just all these things that are happening, all these different worlds that people can be in.
I thought it was weird last week when we had a dancing mouse, but
Simpler times.
yeah.
Simpler times. And we had the old lady knitting in the corner again, and she goes shh, which she did earlier on as well.
Yes.
So my thinking here with her is that because we saw her when Sid was kind of seeing Fukuyama going to bed, is that she is like the representation of like the AI inside the digital mainframe that he gets all his tech from.
So yeah, and I don't think she's shushing Fukuyama. I think she's shushing directly to Sid at the at that point there.
And at the end, when he wakes up and she's in there, that explains what that's the reason why I'm making that my guess is because the two times we see her, it's related to that tech in some way.
Yes. Yeah.
So she's in there in the mainframe as well, telling him to shush.
I assume she is the Vermilions, maybe.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Because the Vermilions, they're just bodies. They don't seem to have their own personality, right? So I'm wondering if she kind of is them and controlling all of them, because they kind of come in as one army and stuff.
Jesus, this show gives me a lot to process at times.
It does, doesn't it?
God, I hate to ask this, but have we missed anything that you you wish to talk about? It didn't help that we went out of order.
Yeah, we were all over the place there.
This
is what happens when the show just does things.
Goes nuts. No, I concur with those.
I thought it was interesting that when Ptonomy was spreading the eggs, he whispered to the eggs and then whispered in their ears as well. Like he was spreading an actual message. Rather than just the eggs doing their thing, he had to impress upon them. And I wonder if that can be used for their advantage at some point. Can they spread an idea through this? Can they spread what they want to rather than just whatever it says it is?
Maybe. I don't know if I see them putting little demon things into people's heads, but
I don't know. I'm just wondering, could they? Like, Liza, because before this, the delusion came to Ptonomy and just he seemed to get the idea, right?
I mean, this may not be important in this show, but where did they get all the eggs? Where did they get all the little demon things to do this with?
It's true. It's true. I think it's worth noting as well. What sets Ptonomy off is he has a vision of one of the Vermilions coming at him.
Yes.
And that's what inspires him to go and start this and spread.
Well, you say
it.
one of it was like three of them.
Well, yeah, but it's you see one first and then the others come in. But the idea is they're coming for him, and he, I think, is this just a vision caused by the delusion creature, or is there more going on with them? Because we really don't know what the aim of the Vermilions is, or even Fukuyama for that point.
No, I think it is in this case. I think I mean, they may have like agendas that we don't know about yet, but I feel like this is not that. I feel like this is just the delusion.
Yeah.
And the delusion's been in his head for like, what, 3 episodes, 4 episodes at this point? It's been a while. It was episode 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, we've been moving really slowly in time lately. It
Maybe
was
episode 1. Yeah, that thing might have been episode 1. Oh, no, wait.
no, it went into
the
him.
infomercial. The infomercial was episode 1, but the actual getting into his head wasn't until another episode or 2.
It was the one where... It was the one where David was going around rescuing everyone from their minds, right?
That sounds right.
I think it was that one that it went into him.
Sounds right.
Just that sentence as well. Just rescuing everyone from their own minds. That's like the base level standard for this show.
Give us your own thoughts and theories in the comments.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to click together.
So, but that's the thing. When I'm watching it, I'm not thinking that this makes no sense. When I'm watching this, as a piece of entertainment, it really works.
It functions. It's got a beat. It's got a pace. It's got almost like an operatic kind of dance to it. The way it kind of bounces around.
All the different things that are going on in this, it really has a flow. Like, it never feels jarring that we're cutting from, an infomercial, then we got Farouk, and then we're at giant delusion creature. All of it seems really like a natural progression.
If I have a complaint, it's that because of the 3 episodes we've had in a row, we've had very, very little Carrie, or Clark, and even Melanie. Like, there's been quite a few characters who've had the short shift because of the focus of the last few episodes. But...
No, it's true. Even to an extent of that is Oliver as well. We've barely, early on in the season we were getting little hints of, okay, what's going on with him and Farouk, but we've not really had any of that in a while.
And it's not even like a proper complaint. It's just an observation. But it's just, I realised when I had Carrie back, I was like, oh yeah, she had like one scene last episode.
No, I feel like this last little chunk where we've had this really hyper focused, like barely moved in the timeline, with all the concept episodes, could have been a little bit more spread out.
Yes, it feels very concentrated in the middle.
It does, yeah.
We'll see. It's worth mentioning they added an extra episode to the season. It's got 11 episodes now instead of 10.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, they just made that
more
announcement. Sometime in the last week or so, they made that announcement, which is interesting to me. Like, because obviously, I'm sure they shot all this and finished shooting it already. So I'm really, it fascinates me for them in the edit room. Like, you got Noah Hawley working with these editors and whatnot, and saying, "Hey, like this final episode's like nearly 2 hours long. Do you think we could convince them to give us an extra episode slot?" Because it's probably easy to convince them when they don't have to shoot any more stuff. It's like, no, you've already paid for all the footage.
The biggest problem is finding a slot for it in the schedule. Whereas if they don't have anything the following week anyway, it's not too big a deal.
Oh yeah, if the following week was a rerun of It's Always Sunny, then they're good.
Exactly. If anything, they'll go, sure, we can charge advertisers.
Yeah. But no, so it's interesting, Holly. So, yeah, 8 episode first season, 11 episodes second season. Those aren't weird numbers at all. Season 3 is going to be 9. Just you watch. Just you watch.
Yeah.
But no, so that's episode 7 of season 2. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there, but otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?